الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي إنك أنت الوهاب. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاثة: من صدقة جارية وعلم ينتفع به وولد صالح يدعو له. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to gather on this day of Yaumul Jumu, what has been described as an Eid for the Muslims. Alhamdulillah, a couple weeks back we got to celebrate Eid al-Adha, which is a very big and illustrious occasion for us due to the history behind it. We know the stories involving Ibrahim alayhi salam, but as well as his family. It's not just the sacrifices of Ibrahim alayhi salam that we recognize that day, it's an entire family's worth of efforts that we recognize. His wife, his son, and also himself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, honoring him, has given us the opportunity to go for Hajj. And for us that don't get to go for Hajj, we still get to include ourselves in the sacrifice of the animal. Now this is a momentous occasion without a doubt, but there is a weekly Eid that we celebrate every single day, and that is on the day of Friday. Now it's important to understand, we know why we celebrate Eid, we've heard talks about it. I'm sure when we went for the Eid khutbah, the Khatib, he mentioned why exactly is Eid celebrated. But what about Friday? Why do we celebrate Friday? What is significant about this day itself? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam describes this as the best day on which the sun has risen is Friday. On it, Adam was created. On it, he was made to enter paradise. On Friday, Adam was expelled from paradise. And the last hour, the day of resurrection, will take place on no other day than a Friday. There's a lot of value in this day. There's so much significance behind it. And as Muslims, we should feel honored that the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen Muslims to be the custodians of this day. The Jews have been given Saturday, the Christians have been given Sunday. But I don't think any faith group can say that they have a day that has so much historical value and future precedent that what we as Muslims have. So the day of Friday is worthy of a day being celebrated. And that's why it's so important that just like how we took out time out of our day, just like how we do something special for Eid, the day of Friday deserves just as much respect as that. So inshallah, we all want to remember this whenever we approach the day of Friday. Quickly before I get into the main topic, one of the ways that you can show respect to the day of Friday is reading Surah Al-Kahf. If you cannot recite the entire surah, at least recite the first 10 and the last 10 verses of the surah. If you cannot do that, then choose. Can you read the first 10 ayahs or the last 10 ayahs? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that this is a nur, this is a light will protect that individual from this Friday to the next Friday. For who? The one who reads Surah Al-Kahf. So, inshallah, this is one of the ways that we can honor and we can respect this day of Friday, Yaumul Jumu'ah. Alhamdulillah, it was a little over 1 month ago, I moved into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I moved on the day of my birthday. I turned 30 years old. For the elders in the community, they will say, mashallah, young man. For the kids in the audience, they'll be like, well, they let grandpas give the khutbah at the masjid. That's just how it is. 30 is a very divisive age in terms of how you should feel as a person. But I was just talking with my friend yesterday. It made me reflect a lot hitting this age, more than any other age before. No other age was I reflecting on my life more than what I was when I turned 30. And there's a word that's been buzzing I watch a lot of basketball. So in the summer, there's no basketball. NBA is off for the summer, and that's how we get really bored. As basketball watchers, we're always looking for something. So all the people on the news talking about basketball, they only focus on one word in the summer. The word is legacy. Legacy. There's a famous player in the NBA, his name is Kevin Durant. If he wakes up in the morning and he drinks a cup of coffee, people on the ESPN headlines are saying, how will this affect his legacy? Kevin Durant has now gone into drinking coffee. How will people remember him after he retires now? This is a buzzword. People like to use it now. It's on the tip of everybody's tongue. Legacy, legacy this, legacy that. If you do this, this will define your legacy. In the last week, in the Dallas community, as well as in the American community at large, there were two significant deaths that happened. There was one, maybe you guys heard, in the Epic area, in the Plano area, young brother by the name of Bilal, 19 years old, suddenly got into an accident and passed away. And just yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, the founder of Al Institute, Muhammad al-Sharif, while walking with his kids, young man, maybe 40, in his 40s, walking with his kids, suddenly collapses and he passes away. There were programs all around the Dallas area talking about these individuals. And that's where the word legacy, that's when it's really fitting to put the word of legacy. Because what these individuals, what they did, that is what a legacy is about. Because what we were doing was, when we talked about these individuals, we talked about their accomplishments, not just as a man, but as somebody who was an active member in the Muslim society. That they left something in our heart, they captured our hearts as brothers. And there's so many deaths that happen in the community that I'm not even giving justice to. But these were two that stuck out to me this past week, and it really struck a chord with me. This word legacy, it means a lot to us as Muslims, because when you pass away, the legacy you leave behind has a huge impact on those that are left behind. The grandfather of my teacher, when he passed away, I remember he told his grandson, he has a line of 4 grandkids, mashallah, all of them very well-versed scholars, at the top of their field, but everybody is different, right, in terms of their skills. The one grandson, he gave a message to him before he passed away. He told him, I want you to be the one for this masjid, after I pass away, I want you to be the one to deliver the Jumu khutbahs, to give the Arabic address. I want you to be the one that does it. And it was interesting because this was the one brother that hated public speaking the most. He despises speaking in public. If you give him a mic, he will run away. He will run. In a dignified way that uncles do. He's not like a kid like me, just like running at full blast, but he's gonna avoid it. But 20 years have passed since his grandfather passed away, and he honored that word that his grandfather left. Because when you pass away, he understood his father was a man of honor and izzah. And death is something that when somebody gives you their dying words, you pay attention to it. And these individuals, when they passed away, they were not able to give their words, but they had actions set for us to follow. They had a legacy for us to see and look up to as they passed away. This element of a legacy, a lot of people, they get confused by it because they're like, if you want to leave a legacy, how can I do it exactly? Do I need to be a pious Muslim? I'm not at that level. Things like that. They feel like, if you want to leave a positive Muslim legacy, you have to be like these individuals that I mentioned, a pious sheikh, a outstanding member in the community, something like that. People get very intimidated. Man, I'm not at that level, I'm not ready. I'll give you an example just for the sake of understanding from my own personal self. I used to teach at an Islamic school, and I wanted to leave a legacy behind that students could follow after I leave. Most definitely. Everybody wants to leave a positive influence for kids. As I was teaching there, I teach Islamic studies. One thing that the kids, they like, alhamdulillah, they like me a lot, but one of the kids, he always used to get at me for one thing. He said, Brother Yusuf, man, you're saying all this good stuff and everything, but man, there's one thing I just don't understand. I was like, what happened? He's like, man, why do you wear nice shoes? You like to wear Jordans. Isn't that against Islam? Against what you stand for? You practice Deen. Why are you wearing dunya on your feet? I was like, man, what do you want me to do? Go barefoot or something? You know, people have this idea that you cannot create a legacy with Deen and Dunya combined. They have this idea that when it comes to legacy, when you speak about legacy in Islam, you have to just be pious and that's it. That's what defines you. I told the kid, okay man, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have a lesson dedicated just for you now. Tomorrow's lesson is gonna be dedicated to this question that you just now gave me. Because I'm gonna make it your homework now. I wanna make you write some stuff about this. You ain't gonna get an answer for free from me. As a teacher, I wanna make sure you remember this lesson. So I wanna make it a homework assignment. So I told him, do you know the story of, do you know who Sulaiman alayhi salam is? I said, yeah, of course I know Sulaiman alayhi salam is. What do you know about him? What's famous about him? He's like, well, Sulaiman alayhi salam could speak to the animals. Sulaiman alayhi salam could speak to the jinn. I was like, what else? What's the main thing we know about Sulaiman alayhi salam? And he has a pretty, he was also a king. I told him, okay, let me tell you about this king. You're mentioning it as the third point. Let me tell you about Sulaiman alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي إنك أنت الوهاب. This is a verse Sulaiman alayhi salam said. He said, Sulaiman alayhi salam, my Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as will not belong to anyone after me. Indeed, you are the bestower. Let's talk about this ayah real fast. Sulaiman alayhi salam. Who was Sulaiman alayhi salam? He established he's a prophet. Prophets are the best of mankind, the best of the best. What is the etiquette of dua we learn? Number one, when you begin your dua, the first thing you ask is forgiveness from Allah. Because nobody is above asking for forgiveness. If the best of mankind is the first thing to ask is for forgiveness, you best believe that's the first thing that we should ask when we start our dua. That's number one. Number two, what do we learn from this dua? That you ask according to what you want. You ask for whatever you want when you ask Allah. Sulaiman alayhi salam asked Allah, Ya Allah, give me a kingdom the likes of which mankind will never ever see after this. This is what he's asking Allah for. Embodiment of dunya. He's not just asking for dunya, he's asking, I want such a dunya, I want such a kingdom, the likes of which people now, living in the year 2022, we will not even be able to hold a candle to it. That's what I want. Sulaiman alayhi salam is asking Allah for that. Do you think Sulaiman alayhi salam would you criticize him for making that dua? No, but why? Because Sulaiman alayhi salam, he understood what he wanted to leave his legacy behind when he had in this dunya. He understood his capability and his ability, and he asked Allah for the best of it. He knew that he was somebody that can manage people, control their emotions, and lead a nation to righteousness, to that which is good. So what does he do? He recognizes his abilities and he asks Allah, Ya Allah, give me the best of this so I can utilize it for the best of whatever it is. And even after I pass away, it will continue. That legacy that I leave behind, people will continue to remember me and utilize those things in a good way. That is a true legacy. You can use your dunya to define your akhirah. And that is exactly what Sulaiman alayhi salam does. He takes that skill that he has, he asks Allah for forgiveness to clear anything from the past, and then he asks Allah, give me more and more and more. Why? Because he knows that this is something that he can utilize for a better life for him in the hereafter. And this is something amazing. So now when you as an individual, when you ask Allah for something, if you want to develop your legacy, like how I wanted to develop my legacy at my school that I was at, I don't have any problem wearing nice shoes because I have it in my mind, this is just something for myself. It's not for me to show off to some 13-year-old kid. I wear them because I like it. If I like something and it doesn't, and I don't have any arrogance towards it, I'm not thinking that I'm better than so-and-so person because I wear it. It has no effect on my legacy. It has no effect on my status as a person. It's not taking away from anything. Rather, this is a way of me showing Allah I'm grateful for what He's given me. Because you can have the dunya, and if you utilize it in a way that shows you're thankful, Allah blesses you with even more. And that's the reality. those people that are thankful, what does Allah say? لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. That if you are thankful for what you are given, I will give you increase. You'll get more and more and more. So take what you have and show to the people that you are grateful for it. And you don't have any sense of arrogance to it. You don't believe that you are better than somebody because of the way that you dress or because of the possessions that you have. Because these are all things, if Allah destined, He could have born you into a different situation entirely and you would have none of it. Because ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that decides who gets these things, who are blessed with what. The only thing that we're in control of is how do we respond when we get those things? And how can we use those things to develop something even greater? أستغفر الله لي ولكم وليس على المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء أما بعد. There's a story one of my friends, when I was in my first year in madrasa, he mentioned it, and to this day, it sticks with me. It was a story that to this day I cannot forget because of the impact that it had on me. It's about a rich father and him having a son that he did not really develop too close of ties with, and now as he's passing away, he knows that his words will have very little effect on his son at this point because his son has gotten older at this point. But he wants to leave him with a lesson that he can remember for the rest of his life when it comes to money. Because mashallah, the dad, he was well off at this point. He had a lot of money. But he wanted to showcase to the kid what exactly money means to him at this point of his life. Dad calls his kid over and tells him, Beta, son, I have this one last request from you. If you can do this for me, there's a portion Islamically that we know there's an ayah in Surah An-Nisa which tells us exactly what portion each individual of the family is going to get when you pass away. When you have a will, Islamically speaking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already dedicated an entire set of verses which detail how much each individual of the family, how much money they're going to get. But there's a 30% allotment in that 100% of wealth which you can give to anybody you want. Wasiyah, it's called wasiyah. Wasiyah you can give to anybody. That 30% of wealth, you can give it to a friend, you can give it to mom, dad, anybody you want. So the dad told the kid, this percent, it's for free for the taking. I can give it to anybody I want. I want to give it to you if you can do this task for me. So the kid just blew up, his face just blew up, right? He's like, oh man, really for me? Dad must think really highly of me. So the dad said, okay, this is what I want you to do. You know, as I've gotten older, I just value certain things. Don't ask me why it makes sense, okay? Just listen to me when I'm telling you this. Don't ask me why. I got really attached, as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more sick. I've gotten really attached to these socks. And so my request to you is that when I'm getting buried, can you make sure that the ones who are doing the burying process, can you make sure that they put these socks on me when I pass away? Kid's like, man, easy money. That's it? Yeah. He doesn't say it to the dad. Honestly, the dad, yeah, inshallah. A few days pass, father passes away, huge janazah prayer. Everybody in the community knows this individual. They go for the prayer, son is at the prayer. Now they're going to the burial site. They're carrying the body. And now, living in America, you have very limited interaction with what you can do at the grave site. Essentially, all you can do is they do a lot of the work for you. You can just essentially just put a little bit of the dirt and they have to do all the rest. They have to dump the rest of the dirt on the body. So the kid, he's doing that, right? He grabbed the dirt a few times, 3 times, poured it onto the body of the dad. He's sad. He's not crying or anything, but he is relatively upset, obviously. His father passed away. What happens? At the very end, like how as we so often do, he remembers, oh shoot, I had to put the socks on my dad's body. They're about to bury him, so what does he do? He runs to the guy. He's like, wait, hold on 1 second, I have to do something. Just open up the casket for a sec, let me put the socks on my dad's body. The guy looks at him, man, this guy's lost his mind. pushes him to the side. He's like, man, if somebody passes away, you think, man, the guy's gone a little deranged. Just push him to the side. Let the family take care of him. He's like, man, we got a body to bury. This is not the time for putting socks on people, especially when they passed away. Now the kid's upset. Kid wasn't upset at the father passing away, but he's disappointed that, man, my dad asked me for one thing. I put the socks on him when he passes away, and I couldn't even do that. And it's not like his dad is here now to say, oh yeah, you're not going to get the 30%. I'm going to get the money. But man, it was such a simple thing and I couldn't do it. I feel bad a little bit. One of the uncles, he comes and he gives the kid a note. Tells the kid, open it. It's from your dad. Kid opens the note. It's a letter from his dad. The dad wrote a note saying, son, I want you to look around right now and see all the people here that have gathered today for me in my janazah prayer. I want you to think about the place that we live at, the possessions that I have. And now I want you to look at my body. And that sock that you just tried to put on my feet, I want you to think about that. I have all this fame, I have all this stuff. I asked you for one pair of socks for you to take with me so I can take it to my grave, and you weren't even allowed to do that. Money means a lot in this world, but it's a currency that as soon as you leave this world, it has no value anymore. When you go to the akhirah, there's only a few things that actually have value anymore. It is your good deeds. It is the money that you used in this dunya that is an ongoing charity. And it's a righteous person, a righteous son, a righteous daughter that continues to make dua for you after you pass away. These are things that constantly give you value even after you pass away. People will continue to pass. This is without a doubt. This is one of the guarantees of life. But every single time when these type of things happen in the community, it's important for us to not only attend those gatherings, to remember those individuals so their name is not forgotten, but it's important for us as well as individuals to take a step back for a second and think, what have I done for myself? Because it's so easy in this dunya to become robotic in our emotions, right? I lived over here in Dallas for the past 1.5 months. It's felt like a week because everything has just become slowly, it just becomes a process and every single day becomes the same. And suddenly 1.5 months passes and I don't even know it. Take the time out and really ask yourself, what is a legacy that I'm leaving behind? Because it's never too late to change your legacy. At 30 years old, there were certain realizations that I had that I wanted to take in charge of, and now I'm in the process of changing it. Because alhamdulillah, living in this country, we can say we truly live in a land of opportunity where every single day you can be thankful and you can change your life from what it was before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed this for us as Muslims, that when you enter into the Deen of Islam, don't worry about the past. Allah is looking at your future now. And a legacy is something, if you keep legacy minded, if you think about what can I do to remember, so that people after I pass away, how will they remember me? This inshallah can be the stepping stone for you living that better life and pushing yourself to really get out of your comfort zone and live a life that's worth remembering. Because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, why is his name mentioned every single minute, every hour, around the clock, throughout the entire world? Why is his name mentioned? Because there was effort behind it, right? There are individuals like how we mentioned Muhammad al-Sharif. Why is his name being mentioned today, yesterday, all over my social media profile? Because for 20 years, he dedicated time and effort to improving the Muslim Ummah and getting them to become better individuals. And that's why we're still mentioning his name, even though he has no more control over what actions he does. He's already passed away. My dear brothers and sisters, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to give us what is best for us in this dunya so we can utilize it for the best in our akhirah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have sincerity in our actions, so we don't do it for the sake of others, we do it solely for the sake of Allah. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون وأقيموا الصلاة.